Hi, good morning. It's Jim from the maverickstar Observatory. Hope you're having a great Sunday. I thought I'd do a breaking news on this because if you've been following solar data, you know that it's been a while since we've had any sunspots. Well, within the last 24 hours, there's been an emergence of a couple of small sunspots. What does it mean? Well, we don't need NASA anymore if we've got a little bit of knowledge on the sun and its disk to tell us whether we're in solar maximums, solar minimums, and I'll share that with you guys. First of all, as we can see with these sunspots that are formed on the disk recently, they're equatorial, and that tells us one thing, that we're in a solar minimum at the moment, or coming towards the end of a solar cycle 24 as it is. We also know that there's not a lot of them in numbers, again reiterating the fact that we're in a coming towards the end of a solar cycle. If they'd have been at 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south, and in more numbers, we'd be probably in a solar maximum. Let me see if I've got an image of just what the sun looks like in both solar maximum and solar minimum, because I think on the website, if you go and have a look, you'll see. Here we go. So you can see two screenshots here of the sun's disk. One in July 2000, which was solar maximum, and then in 2009, we are approaching solar minimum, and you can see the difference between the sunspots numbers, the positions on the disk during both maximum and minimum. We just go back up to where we are to confirm that. You can see here we are 2020 at the end of solar cycle 24. What does it mean? Does it mean that we've got a little bit of activity with the heliosphere and it's pushing out cosmic radiation? Absolutely not. At the end of solar cycles, we get very little protection from the sun's heliosphere, which is like an invisible bubble that inflates all over our solar system and blocks inbound cosmic rays. So we're not going to get any protection out of this, and I'll show you why that is on the next chart. And this is why we're looking at the space environment overview for 2014, but it covers the time period that we're interested in to prove what we're talking about. Still a bottle of wine up for anyone that can get me a later addition to the space environment overview in this format. So, you know, if you've got a bit of time available to you and you don't mind doing a bit of searching, maybe you could find that. I'll get a bottle of wine out to you for it. Well, okay, so at the end of this chart, you can see 2014, we're almost at solar maximum in the cycle 24. And what we should be getting is protection from cosmic rays. But if we look at the chart, the third one down, you'll see that cosmic rays, even throughout the whole of solar cycle 24, even though we don't have the end bit on there, it still shows us the maximum, solar maximum, during the middle of that cycle. And at that point, if we just look at the cosmic rays, we can see that it's above the line. Whereas if we go back to solar cycle 23, at solar maximum, we can see that there is some level of protection from the heliosphere during solar maximum. The point being is that during the whole of solar cycle 24, the heliosphere has been at its critical levels, and it has allowed throughout the whole of the cycle cosmic rays to come in. So even with the little couple of spots that we've had on the disk recently over the last few days, it's not going to change nothing. And even if it was in even greater amounts of numbers, it still wouldn't change anything, because the whole of solar cycle 24 has been so unprotective during the cycle because of the low amount of numbers and the low solar activity we've just had. As a reason of that, more cosmic rays inbound. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything really, guys. Even though it is nice to see a little bit of activity on the disk of the sun with reference to sunspots, it's not going to offer us any more protection than what we've got at this present point in time. Does it mean that we're going into solar cycle 25? No, it doesn't. We're still in the end of solar cycle 24, and we would expect low sun numbers, sunspot numbers during this point, this period of time. And we've just got to wait a few more years, at least another 5 years, to see if these sunspot numbers pick up in any numbers at all. So it's a waiting game. But right now, our first line of defence is down at critical levels, and that's a result of the whole of solar cycle, as you can see here, being as low as what it was. On top of this, guys, as you already know, our primary defence from cosmic radiation is our magnetosphere, and as we're going through a magnetic pole reversal on this planet, which is not talked about really as much as what it should be, but as a result of that, our primary defence against cosmic rays is down also, or weakening, to the tune of around about 25% at the moment. So it's not good, because we know when we get more cosmic rays into the upper atmosphere, they smash with other air particles, and as a result we get these muons, which we're detecting at our observatory now, and we're going to be finishing off 2 more of these muon detectors over the next week. We've also got to build another 3 magnetometers. So we're doing all we can to target the main risks that we've got here, and that is cosmic rays. Cosmic rays change the performance of your jet streams, and as a result of that we have seasonal changes with climate. Climate is not reliable like it usually is, and predictable, and it's catching a lot of farmers out globally right now at this moment. We have to realise, guys, that farmers are just the same as us. They have to invest large amounts of money in equipment, and it doesn't mean that they've got an endless pocket of money that they can do it. So what a lot of farmers do is they probably like us do, when we need something we can't do without it, we've got to borrow money, and sometimes they put their farms up as security for those loans. And as we're hearing, a lot of loan sharks out there are taking advantage of the farmers. Another season like or another end to the summer like what we've seen last year, where farmers have been caught out with crops still in the ground in October because of the early frosts. Can send them under the ground. Can destroy their family business that probably has been in their families for many years. So guys, it's really, really hard on the farmers. They're not all millionaires like some people seem to think, and when the climate gets shifted about, they start to go into very hard times, and they can lose the farms as a result, and that just means more farmland goes offline. You can't just simply pick up a piece of land on the market and then decide you're going to be a farmer on there, because you have to know the land, you have to know what's in there, and it's not something that can be put back online once it goes offline in a short amount of time, unless you are a really experienced farmer. But if there's a lot of these farms going offline at further northerly latitudes, it's probably because what we're seeing now is a cooling effect on the earth, and these northerly latitudes are no longer going to be able to sustain large agro on them, and as a result of that, it means that our food bowl gets shorter, the cropping quantity of land reduces, and the price of food goes up as a result of that, and people lose their businesses. So we are, as we move into the future, we are going to start seeing more of these things. We're going to start seeing more farmers losing their land because they're not producing the crops and they can't meet the mortgage costs, just like me and you. And as a result of that, food is going to go up through the roof in price. And we're already seeing, countries like Canada and the United States, with their reduction in crop output, have an effect on the global market in food prices. And this is what we're going to see more of. There has never been a time on this earth where there has been so many people dependent on the food production and based on modern technology. We're going to start to see these solid links that we've enjoyed in past years slowly break, and as a result of that, it's going to come back to us, guys. We really need to pay attention and start getting a plan together for ourselves and our loved ones. There's no short way around it. We've got to do it. Other things that are going to start to affect us, if these lands start going off in even larger quantities, we've got a problem, because we live in a world now where there are borders and we simply can't migrate. That would be the natural thing to do. If you look at your history of if you're in America, look at the Indians, what they did, how they moved about the country. They never had the roots permanently in one spot forever ever. When the weather and the climate and the seasons changed, they always moved their herds, or their, they uprooted and left and found somewhere more sustainable during that period of time. We haven't got that advantage because of borders now, and it means that there's going to be a lot of people in the future at a particular time trying to get to more sustainable lands. They're just not going to be able to because of borders and other problems. So yeah, it's an eye-opener, guys. So yeah, for that sunspot that we've got and we haven't seen for a long time now on the disk, it's great to see that there is still the ability for the sun to produce sunspots, and it's just sad that they're not in more numbers than what we have seen in solar cycle 23 and 22. So I'll leave it there, guys. There's a link down there if you want to support what we're doing on the observatory. We've had another magnetometer go out this week, so we've hit the road running really here at the observatory this year. Our plan is to get more magnetometers out into the field globally in different locations, get more muon detectors out there in the field, and just gather more data and keep you good guys informed of what is going on, because there is a lack of information coming from these organisations. First of all, can you trust what they produce when you see recent CO2 data being manipulated? And secondly, in some aspects they don't even release the data, especially with geomagnetics, as you know. So yeah, there's a link down there if you want to support what we do. It'd be nice to see a few more people jump on the wagon and help us, because we've just rolled over a bit later on today on the 30,000 subscriber mark. It's a milestone for me. I've never had that many subscribers ever, and it's great to see those numbers, but still we're less than a couple of hundred people on Patreon and PayPal that do actually help out with some funding, and that really is what we need in order to keep putting this equipment out in the field. So the links are there, guys. I will say one other thing: enjoy your Sunday, and I'll be back in the week at some point with an update on how we're getting on with all these pieces of equipment that we're building and get ready to put out early February. So have a great day. I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.